a little dusty over here. A little dusty.
Dusty.
We haven't even done anything to make dust, but there is dust on this table, and I would love to know why. The thing is,
The
with this
maid hasn't come
with
to
this
the shop.
firehouse, any dust I'm incredibly suspicious of, and I treat it like it is poison.
I know.
I want to run away.
Why is it asking me to log in?
To Google? I don't know. Close out of
To
it.
Twitter.
Okay. Well, we're here.
We're here.
How's it going, everybody? Friday
Hello
Live,
from
right?
Missouri.
Yeah, from Missouri. I'm Mark.
And I'm Nicole.
Very awkward opening for today's show.
It's a very echoey space
That's
right now.
where we are. That's our new thing.
There's a box of acoustic panels.
Sitting over there in
like
boxes.
6 boxes of acoustic panels.
There's so much potential locked in there, and it's not helping us one bit right now.
And I keep walking by going, we gonna put those up?
So here's the thing. We weren't going to do a show, but just being busy, I'm still not totally committed to this being a routine thing. We're just going to see how it goes. But I did get a very special message from someone on Instagram. The gentleman's name is Dave Yoakum. And I'm not going to go through the details. Dave's going through some hard stuff right now. He and his family, and he said it was one of those little 1 hour respite from reality, because this certainly what we do here is not reality at all.
I enjoy doing the show.
I enjoy it too.
I was telling you how much I missed talking to you. It makes it sound like I never talk to you.
Well, no,
but
we do talk, but it's usually just about our kids and the problems they're having in school and whatnot. Anyway, Dave reached out and he's like, I hope you guys do continue doing the show. And I looked at Nicole. I said, I guess we're doing a show.
We're doing a show.
We're doing a show this Friday, whether we were planning on it or not. So, Dave, hope all is well with you and your family, and hope you guys are enjoying this.
And
this one's for you.
And speaking of, I hope everyone that is dealing with Hurricane Ian, which is unfortunate, his brother's name's Ian.
Let me tell you, living with Hurricane Ian my entire life, and it is nothing to mess with.
So if you are in the path, or if you've been in the path,
seriously.
we hope you're
hope
okay.
everybody's safe, staying safe.
Yes.
Has it moved through? I mean, I know it's moving its way across.
Yeah, it's going up north, right?
Wreaking havoc on its way. So hopefully everybody's safe.
Oh,
okay.
Yes. Hey, there's Jack Dolby. Hey, Jack.
Yes.
Haven't seen you in a while. Oh,
Where
and
you
there's
been,
Chris.
Jack?
Chris, I was going to write Chris. He wrote a message on YouTube talking about moving. So, but I was like, okay, it's going to be weird if I reply because it looks like you, and that's
how I prefer it. I prefer it that way. I got one thank you to do today. Besides thanking all of you for coming and watching.
Yeah, we got a little something.
Look at this thing. Do you know what this is?
It's a champagne flute. It looks like.
It kind of looks like it could be.
I put my 7-Up in it.
Yeah. So this is actually a pepper mill, which is pretty flippin' awesome. Look at how narrow the stem.
It's so thin, and I was actually afraid to turn it in fear of breaking it. But then he
gave us some information.
Yeah.
Okay. So this was just a nice gift from the guy's name is not Tantalus. The guy's name is Sean Kay, and the company is called Tantalus Design. They're based in Canada, and they make a number of things. One of them is this gorgeous pepper mill. This thing is absolutely amazing. He did say that don't worry, this is not as fragile as it looks because there's actually stainless steel inside there.
A pepper.
Pepper. So this is a fantastic gift. Thank you so much. It looks like it's some beautiful white oak, and I love to cook. And while she doesn't enjoy the pepper, I do enjoy the pepper. She eats a lot of pepper and just doesn't realize it because it gets cooked into the food.
If it gets cooked,
it's part of the recipe.
It's not as spicy for me. I have a very sensitive palate.
You cannot put fresh pepper on top of the food that's already been prepared. She will freak out. But yeah, I'm peppering our food. So
I'll deal.
This is awesome. So go check these guys out. I think they have a few different products, but this seems to be like Tantalus, I'm sure, tantalus.com or something. Hold on.
Design. I think it's something design. Oh, they're on Instagram too.
The website is not on this piece of paper.
I'll go to Instagram though.
If you Google Tantalus Design, you will find these. And I highly recommend them. I haven't actually done the grinding yet, but we will.
They're in Canada, right?
Yep.
That's why it took forever to get to us.
The Canadians. Well, and actually, the weird thing was it ended up at my mother-in-law's house.
Yeah. Not sure how.
Long story, but it ended up there. So,
oh, look at those.
Yeah, they're absolutely gorgeous. Really, really nicely done.
I'll put a link in the chat because it looks really cool.
Yeah.
Link to their Instagram. Boom.
Yep.
Just like that.
Where's the mayor, Troy asked. Well, the mayor fell. This brick wall turns out is really hard to get sticky putty and
Yeah.
stuff to stick to. So I'm still working on solutions for how I want to hang things on the brick. I don't want to punch into the brick any more than I have to.
Steve, hold on, Steve. Dave's in the chat.
Ah, there he is.
Thank you, Mark and Nicole.
What's
You're
happening,
so welcome, Dave.
So here's the deal. I only have like a couple of questions that
Yep.
came in early, but we are more than happy to answer your questions directly in the chat. So you got a question, throw it in there. Nicole will hopefully see it and put it on screen.
Hopefully.
We'll see. You never know.
We do have a question that came from Adam on Patreon. He said, hey, Mark, stoked to have the live shows back on Fridays. Sort of. Ish. I have a bit of a problem on my hands. Your post the other day about organizing your new wood inspired me to sort through and clean out my own collection. This is when I realized that my nice and super expensive 3/4 inch 13 Baltic birch plywood sheets were on the bottom of the stack and have acquired a decent layer of nasty green mold. Despite having a humidifier in there. Have you had this happen before, and do you know if it's salvageable with cleaning products, or do I now own very expensive plywood trash? Thanks and help.
I'm certainly no expert on mold. I do fear it, like most powders in this shop, as I mentioned earlier. I fear a lot of things. Generally walk around the world in a state of fear. And mold is no exception. I probably wouldn't want to mess with that too much. Now that said, it is possible to kill the mold. Now, I'm going to reference a episode of Johnny Brooks. He's doing a series on his new shop space. Well, one of the most recent ones is about mold because they had, I guess the humidity in his place was like 80-some%. He moved all of his stuff in there. Some things went into a back room and just disgusting amounts of mold to the point where it looks like stalactites falling off of this stuff. And he had everything fumed in there. And that, I guess, biologically killed all of the mold, and this way you can kind of either scrape it off, sand it off. So without being an expert in this field and certainly having no good information on this, I'm going to say it might be salvageable, but you got to really weigh your options here. I don't personally like to mess with biologicals.
But isn't plywood really expensive now?
That's the reason he's debating this.
Yeah.
Good quality Baltic birch plywood is extremely expensive in most areas now. So it is something that if it is safe to salvage, it is worth salvaging. I would ask someone who knows more about mold remediation and the safety implications of continuing to use it even after you kill the mold. So look into it. I'm not going to give you a great answer on this. I just don't have the background for it. Chat room might, you never know what kind of expert we have sitting in the chat room. There might be someone who can give you some advice. I guess maybe it's good that it's not black mold. I know the black mold is it's supposed
green,
to be
right?
really toxic. You said it's green.
So one of my favorite things to do is to watch this woman on TikTok that cleans graves.
Oh boy.
And there's always like green mold on it, and she uses
like moss and stuff like that.
Yeah, and like she restores gravestones, and it's just a fascinating process to watch. And how she scrapes it all off, and then she sprays it, and then it just kind of.
There's solutions. We had a little bit of mold here, and I bought some stuff on Amazon. I'll tell you what. I'm going to give you the link. The guy that we used for our environmental testing, who did all of the asbestos testing, the lead testing, he recommended the product specifically. He's like, just avoid the stuff that's at the big box store. Most of it's just bleach or variations of bleach solutions. This stuff is in my Amazon recent history, probably a couple weeks ago. So I'll put a link in there and you could buy this stuff. It's supposedly absolutely fantastic.
What's it called?
For wiping out mold. It looks like a gallon. Just type mold in the search.
Mold. There it is. It's called Fiber Lock. Fiber Lock.
Fiber Lock Shockwave. It's about $30 for a gallon, and that just came highly recommended. I bought a gallon of it in case we confront any of this stuff again. I didn't have much. It was just a tiny little bit that I found in a bathroom that I was able to expose to this stuff, wipe it up, call it done. I'm
going to add that to our Amazon store under the category of Friday Live. If you're watching this and go, what was that? It's there. Usually the newest stuff is at the top.
Right.
So Amazon.com/shop/The Wood Whisperer.
Don't forget the.
There it is. I've added it. All right. I got another question that came in from YouTube from Mark. What are your thoughts on making your own dominoes? I feel like I've asked this before. From what I gather, they're actually compressed and will expand slightly after glue is applied. And thanks for not quitting. Oh, wait, that's another platform.
I mean, if you want to make your own dominoes, that's fine. A lot of people do it. It's not too hard to do. Just mill the stock up, round over the edges, cut it to length. You can also buy domino stock that would be from Festool in longer pieces if you need to get custom sizes. I think my problem with this, if I'm going to kind of pose the other side, you're saving money, you got extra material, do it. It makes sense. Go ahead. But the way I look at the domino is it's a time saver, and if I've already spent that much on the tool, spending a little bit more to get a bag of dominoes, which is the other half of the time savings, I don't see why I would do anything else. So there are arguments to be made, and if money's tight right now, maybe it wasn't tight when you bought the domino, and now it is because stuff has happened, right? Go ahead and make them. But I'm just saying, from a logical 30,000 foot perspective, you're buying a time-saving tool. I would just continue buying the thing that continues to save more time and just get those pre-made dominoes.
Let's see. Christian said, could you please do a comparison of the Festool DTS and the Mirka Deos? What is it?
Deos Delta.
Delta. I really enjoy the previous sander comparisons between the two brands and thought another one would be great.
Maybe.
Do you have those?
I don't know. I don't even know which ones they are.
Yeah.
Are they the little mouse sanders, like the triangular shaped sanders? I don't know. I don't have those.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I think a lot of times what you guys will need to understand about me is that my tool reviews and my testing always comes from a personal interest, right? And sometimes when people ask for something, if I don't already have the tools, it's not that likely I'm going to go out.
Uphill battle.
Yeah, it is an uphill. It's not that it's not going to happen. It's just harder for me to do. If I'm personally interested in it, then it's so easy for me to go, well, you know what? I want a new miter gauge, so I'm going to buy every one on the market, and I'm going to test them all. Why the heck not? But if I don't have that personal interest, it's so much harder to get me to go and do that. And that type of sander, if I don't own it, it means I also don't regularly use them. So in doing a side-by-side comparison, I might not be the best person to do that because I don't have years of experience with that format of sander to begin with, right? And that's where that limitation would be. So just trying to be 100% honest about this stuff for you guys.
Steve wants to know, once you're up and running, do you want to start doing classes? He doesn't want.
I might be forced to, or coerced.
I actually want to. I really enjoyed teaching kids last year, and I want to try to capture that again without having to be in a elementary school. Yeah. That was really
suck.
Oh good, that was hard. I call that my professional development I did for the last year.
There you go. Yeah, and that is part of the plan, is to maybe occasionally do classes. Classes will not be a regular thing here. We're not opening a woodworking school.
No.
Classes are also, just business-wise, not super profitable, and you can only appeal to, only get to maybe in here, 6 people. It might be the most I would be comfortable, because we don't have multiple tools. We only have singles. It's just a regular working shop. So it would be hard to give people a good experience if the numbers get too high. So it's not something we would do a lot. It would just be something we would kind of just do for the love of hanging out with 6 cool people and getting to know them and teaching a little bit of woodworking. So it's not something that would happen frequently, but it is something we are thinking about.
And I think, so we're going to be doing Firehouse Founders open houses here pretty soon. So if you were a Firehouse founder and you were at the $50 level or higher and you haven't gotten an email from me, reach out to me. Those emails went out. And so we're scheduling those and just seeing how the dynamics of the property work, with the parking and
just what it's like to have more than 2 or 3 bodies in here.
Yeah, so we're still kind of figuring all that out. Why does the camera look like it was moving? Was it moving?
I don't think it moved. I think that was your eyeballs.
Yeah.
Moving in your
stomach. No, you're moving and it's a reflection of the your shirt is glow in the dark.
Oh.
And I think it's
reflecting back
very
a little heavy.
reflective for me.
I got you.
Let's see.
Andy wants to know how much money I have invested in these clamps.
Oh yeah, those.
Well, not as much as you think. My monetary investments in tools are always mired by sponsorships.
Advertising
and things like that. So my actual cash outlay, I bought
Did I buy you any of those?
No, most of the ones that I bought are the small ones because I got to a point where like if you could just have more, they take up a lot of space. I don't think the smallest ones are the most efficient size to have because obviously you go a little larger, you can clamp more things. But if you got a bunch of those small ones, it's just so fun to be able to grab the little tiny ones and go. You've got a whole bunch of things to glue up. So that said, I've added, I don't know, maybe 10 or 12 of those. A lot of the other non-jet clamps were ones that I've purchased. But over the course of the years, 15 years almost, working with Powermatic, I was fortunate to be able to, as part of the sponsorship, acquire most of the jet clamps there. So I know that's not a fun answer, but it's the truth.
Danny says he was hoping to make it down for the open house, but his better half wasn't too keen on a trip the weekend of our 25th anniversary. Did you know our anniversary is coming up soon?
Yeah, I did. I don't blame him. You know, the funny thing is I think Cremona was going to come down.
Oh.
And his anniversary is also that weekend.
Well, I have it split up on 2 weekends now.
No excuse then.
The 22nd and the 29th.
Matthew. So think about it.
Let's see here. I got one more question over on YouTube. Where'd it go? There it is. From Jason. Hey, Jason. He got a Powermatic 14-inch bandsaw last year, and the rip fence tube sticks out past the table on the right side, maybe 4 to 6 inches. Is that important? Can I cut it off so it doesn't stick out past the table? Can't for the life of me figure out why, except common part larger bandsaws. Any thoughts? I love it how I read it. You don't hear me. So you have to read it yourself.
Because sometimes you change words.
I know.
And you put words that actually aren't there.
I do that.
It makes it hard. I actually don't know what you're talking about, Jason. So we have a 14-inch bandsaw.
Yeah.
When he refers to the tube, there's an aluminum extrusion body. That's the body of the fence.
I didn't change that
And then
word.
there's a little hoopty on the other end that clamps.
Hoopty.
That's why we're perfect together.
Yes, we are.
Clamps to the other tube. Now, are you talking about the rail? Maybe go back. Let me see his question. Is he talking about the rail that the fence rides on?
It says the rip fence tube
Sticks out past the table on the right side. Maybe is it that? Oh, I see. Okay, now I get you. So the and I think it's steel. I'm pretty sure that's steel on the 14-inch. So the tube that the fence rides on protrudes out past the table. Is that important? I think it's probably only there to allow for additional capacity if you are maybe doing something where you want the fence on the right side of the blade as opposed to keeping the fence on the left side of the blade. So I think if you don't ever envision yourself doing that, then it's probably something that's expendable and you can cut it. I could tell you in many years of ownership of a 14-inch Powermatic, and it's also the same, it's a common format for a 14-inch saw. In all the years of owning one and using one, I have never, ever had a reason to put the fence to the right of the blade. Like on a table saw, how often I've done it on a table saw, but still, that's something you don't do very often, and even more so for me on the bandsaw. So my guess is probably okay, but again, let's throw it to the chat room. You guys see any reason, if he's not using it, why he would need that there. As long as you have full support, when the extrusion gets right to the blade and your whole back portion of the T, if that's still fully supported by the amount you leave, then I think you're probably fine.
I like this question from Jimmy. Has any of the former firemen stopped by yet? Being a volunteer, I know I would. Why did they move out of it in the first place?
Okay, so we have met one fireman.
One.
And he was a younger guy who was hired, I think, the last year that they were here, so he didn't spend much time here. We did at one of the local fairs or
the Fall Fest.
Fall Festival or something.
Yep, the Historical
met
Society.
a gentleman and his wife was actually a 10-year volunteer at this location, so they had all kinds of cool stories for us. Outside of that, I haven't had anyone else stop by directly related to the firehouse. Why did they move out? The facility wasn't great, just in terms of providing what they needed. I don't think they had, the water that they needed here, because we don't even have an outside bib.
No.
There's an inside bib, and where everyone's going where did they actually fill the tanks? Where did that all come from?
Yeah.
They
built a really nice one just right down the road.
Yeah, I mean, generally, it's a crappy building, in the sense of there's just not much in the way of amenities here. They probably just needed to expand. And at a certain point, it was, I'm trying to think what One of the things that they wanted to do was get hooked up to city water and city sewer. And the closest water, and this is what actually the guy at the Fall Fest told me, that was one of the main reasons they moved, was because they didn't want to pay for the expense to get the water piped in over here. Yeah. It was just prohibitively expensive, so they said, well, it's just probably better, instead of putting more money into that building, let's go and build the new one, and that's one of the main reasons as far as
that makes sense.
As far as he was concerned.
Yep. Let's see here. I had a couple super chats come in. Where'd it go? Oh, someone asked me how my laser's going.
Laser.
So for those that don't know, I got a Glowforge. We're working with Glowforge. And look at that. How cool is that?
That's really cool.
That was my first little project that I did. So I am, and I've had, in fact, Susie, thank you so much for sending me that video. She's like laser pro.
Yeah.
I'm like intro laser. And what I've learned in my journeys of teaching myself 3D printing and also how I'm approaching lasers, I need easy in the beginning. So like with 3D printers, we got a toy box. It's called a toy box. And it was plug and play, and it allowed me to really understand it before I went to the next step.
Yeah.
Same way with this laser.
It's much more approachable.
It's so much more approachable. The community is really great with Glowforge. I'm really happy with it. And I know there's professional laser people out there that are like, oh, that's intro. That's what I need. That's my journey right now.
Sometimes that's how you get your foot in the door.
Yeah.
You get comfortable, and then later, if you need something else, you have that option.
Yeah.
It also, the cutout looks a little bit like either Mario or possibly Santa Claus. A little bit of that going on.
So for me, Glowforge is where I need to be at this point in my journey. And it still does quite a bit. And it's lasers. It's kind of scary. It's like, this could create a fire. I'm like, oh crap, yeah, we are dealing with lasers. So I'm going into it gently, and I'm really enjoying.
Ease into it, Nicole.
It's easing in.
Don't dive in head first. Oops.
So we'll see how it goes. I'm really having fun with it right now. I love the community around Glowforge. They actually gave us an affiliate link too. So if you are ever interested in Glowforge, you can use our affiliate link.
Use our link, please.
It's glowforge.com/thewoodwhisperer, and it'll tell you all about it. So you'll see more stuff come out of the shop from me around the Glowforge. I have a really cool project that we're collaborating on.
We're doing a collab.
We're collabing.
My first collab in years, and it's with someone who doesn't have her own YouTube channel.
I'll just use yours.
Oh, okay. You can go on the barbecue channel.
Yeah.
You could say that one's yours. Okay.
So that's what's going on.
Cool.
All right. Thank you for asking. And oh, by the way, I'm still quilting. I made this morning. This is my brother's car show. If you happen to be in mid-Missouri next weekend and you like cars, check out Rustoberfest. It's in New Florence, Missouri, right off 70.
Always a good time.
We're going to be there,
We will.
probably on Saturday. Oh. So it is going to be really busy, from what I understand.
It doesn't affect me. I'm just walking around.
And they have
eating food.
They're going to have a auction, and they're going to auction off a quilt that I made.
Yeah.
So it's still going.
All right. Way back in questions.
Speaking of Baltic birch.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of Baltic birch,
have you found a cheaper alternative?
Yeah, I haven't, because I haven't bought anything. Like, I didn't buy much before we left Denver when all this stuff just went nuts, and I haven't bought anything since. So as far as an alternative, nope. I'm just kind of feeling like maybe I could just wait it out. Like, maybe another year.
We're going to wait it out.
2023 is the year, guys.
Matthew wants to know, I'm using your trestle table plans to help guide me in my build. My question is, if the tabletop is just over 3/4 inch thick, will it be okay? And if so, do I need C-channels?
So, yes. Yeah, tabletops can be any thickness you want. I actually like and sort of favor moving towards 7/8 whenever something calls for 3/4. Gives you more options. If you don't like the way it looks, you can kind of just under bevel a little bit, give it a thinner look. But ultimately, I love it. I think it's great to go a little bit thicker, so go for it. What was the other part of the question?
C channels.
Oh yeah, no, don't stop with the C channels, guys. Come on, what's wrong with you?
Why would you say that? Tell
Because
them
I'm
what.
just trying to be annoying. So there is an episode of Wood Talk. I'm going to have you go back and listen to a terrible podcast called Wood Talk. Probably earlier this year, where something like C channels are dumb, or don't use C channels or something. Anyway, it was a real discussion about how we feel about C channels and whether they're actually necessary. There's sort of a vibe going around that if you have a tabletop that you must install C channels to keep it from turning into a potato chip, and it's just not true. If you're working with big live slabs, incredibly large tabletops, that may be something you want to think about for just future stability and kind of a belt and suspenders things. But if you have kiln dried material and you've milled it properly and you're gluing it up properly, the panels just don't spontaneously turn into crap. And especially if you're looking at something like a trestle design, the trestle itself acts as a stabilizer for that top when you cinch it down. So that all being said, if you like the idea of C channels, go for it. But in most cases, it's an extra unnecessary expense. Just to give you an example, I've been building furniture for, what we say, about 20 years now? And I built quite a few tables. Mm-hmm. Not one of them has C channel. And they do have tables, 3, 4, sometimes 5 feet wide. And it's just not something I felt inclined to do.
Yeah, so we bought our house in 2002.
Yeah, pre-Wood Whisperer time frame.
Yes, so 2002. Mm-hmm. So yeah, wow, 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Laird wants to know, did you bring the budget tools for the beginner woodwork shop with you?
Mm-hmm. In fact, some of those are what we used initially to get through this phase while we're waiting for power. The ultimate plan is to have the budget-friendly tools to kind of live at home in the standalone garage, which will kind of be like an alternative home shop.
Unless we fill it with wood from Tim.
If we go down that path, then it can still be filled with wood.
Yeah.
Those tools don't take up that much room.
Yeah, true.
It's just a DeWalt table saw, little Wen bandsaw, and just some handheld tools and a small lunchbox planer.
Mm-hmm. Judy, thank you for the super chat. Nicole, have you considered classes in 3D printing or other things you're well versed in enough to teach in addition to woodworking classes? I would love to do a 3D print, like intro to 3D print. It's a very overwhelming kind of thing. Like Mateo did a presentation to his 5th grade class about 3D printing, and he time-lapsed something that we printed, and they were like, "What?" It's so cool.
You need to see what's possible.
Yeah.
And the light goes off and you're like, oh, that's super
so
cool.
I would love to. That's the plan. I just gotta figure it out and how to make it happen. Dean said he didn't get the invitation for the Firehouse Founder, so Dean, email me. Nicole at the Wood Whisperer. Yeah, write that down just in case. Or I'll email you.
Okay.
Alexander, when should we see the first shop project? Or will the first video using the new setup come?
Well, the new setup is in flux.
Yes.
Like even once we start building, I've got a planer that's on its way. It's not here yet, so I'll be using the planer that I have. So some things will continue to change as we go. So I think when you say a new shop project, you're not talking about an actual shop project.
Probably not. Somebody asked about a guild project too.
The shop.
Someone had asked about your next guild project too.
Okay. So I think the next project, we just did the cornhole boards. That was just something to get done, and Nicole asked for it, so we did it. The first solid wood project that's going to come out of the shop, I wanted something to just kind of get my feet wet. Again.
You don't have excuses anymore.
No, I got
looking
lumber,
at
right?
lumber.
It's been a long time, and I didn't want to dive into something that was physically large. I wanted something small and detailed that would be fun and just a little bit of a diversion for a week. And I'm going to do a really nice, a beam compass, because I do need a way to draw large radius circles. And I thought a little shop-made large format beam compass would be a fun little project. And I'm actually thinking about doing a aluminum core with walnut skins on the outside, so it should look kind of cool, and it's obviously...
And we're going to use the laser on it.
Maybe. We'll see. We're going to try, because if I can get a scale on the beam, so I just get at least every inch or maybe every half inch or something. Let's go 1/4 inch. Every 1/4 inch for locating it as you go down the beam would be really cool too.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Broken Branch Wood Shop says, I just bought a Laguna 14-inch bandsaw about 2 weeks ago. What's your favorite go-to bandsaw jig?
I don't really use jigs at the bandsaw very often. Yeah. I use a fence for the most part. I use feather boards and push sticks. Jig-wise, there's no such thing as a go-to for me. I don't really have one. But things that I like using on the saw would be like just a simple angled jig. So basically think of an angled wedge shape, piece of MDF or whatever with a little pin at the back to do like hybrid dovetails, where you're doing some of the initial cuts on the bandsaw and you're doing all your cleanup at the workbench. I covered that in my book, actually. What's the name of that book?
Hybrid.
So was it in hybrid woodworking?
Or was it essential joinery?
Or was it because they could have been in both?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's in one of those books.
It's one of them. Hey, we sell those books on our website,
We do.
TWWstore.com.
Yeah, if you want to go check that out. So yeah, that's I don't really use a lot of different jigs there. Now, if you want to see people use jigs at the bandsaw, look at Philip Morley. He's a great example.
He's dancing all the time.
Not that kind of jig. Really, really good use of jigs. And also Michael Fortune, amazing jig maker, and just incorporating jigs at the bandsaw. Two masters of that, frankly.
Hey, it was Big Willie that asked the question. Hey guys, thanks for bringing the show back. Mark, what will be your first guild project in the new shop?
Yeah, so that I don't know yet.
Yeah.
I'm building a beam compass and haven't thought beyond that.
Let's see, what do I need?
Yeah, what's Nicole need?
I need a new table.
Ava wants that little vanity.
She wants a vanity.
And while we already have a vanity in the guild that Matt built, this would definitely be a child size
A simpler
vanity.
Probably, yeah.
So maybe that, I don't know. She's been bugging me about it and she hasn't asked me to build anything.
I think that bookcase could be fun.
Yeah, we'll see. If I could design it, if I could design something I like. I need a rotating bookcase or a corner bookcase because I literally need a bookcase. In this office, there's just no room, but I do have a corner. So if I had something that rotated and not just like, some of these rotating ones are just kind of dinky or like they're for kids' books. I want something that will hold my big woodworking books in there. So like the full size books. So I don't know, we'll see.
Do you need Jason for anything? We're gonna let him go. Hey Jay.
We're letting you go, Jay.
You can head out.
Collect your last paycheck.
No, just stop it.
At the end of next week.
Hey, go check on the laser for me. I'm printing something off for you.
Yep. Put your tongue in it.
Daniel says, now that you have more space, do you plan on building a different Rubo bench? And do you prefer a split top or a solid top and a leg vise or no leg vise?
I'm not building anything workbench-wise at this point. I've got
Jason's going to build some.
Yeah, Jason wants to build his own workbench. I've got the hybrid workbench, and I might be getting a Rubo directly from Benchcrafted, just because I don't want to build one. It's very sad, but I mean, once you build two workbenches, like two final lifetime workbenches, that's enough for one person.
Yeah.
But I don't see necessarily need to do anything different. I love the split top design. I still think it's good. I would highly recommend it. It just comes in handy to have it. So I like the split top.
Bernard wants to know, what lights are you going to use in the new shop?
American Green Lights, we've used them in the past.
Really...
Denver was the all American Green Lights. Great company. One of the reasons why, aside from the fact that they work with us, is the fact that they have one of the highest color rendering index of any LED lights that I could find for like shop lights.
Our editor loves them.
Yeah, our editor loves them. So color, if you don't know what that is, basically it just means like how much information goes into the video for the color accuracy of the color that you're seeing. So basically our ability to render color in those images just makes the editor's job easier and the footage just looks better. And if you were using it from like just a regular woodworker perspective, it just means it's easier to see the colors. As far as I understand it, it just makes colors more accurate, and especially in the context of video and photography, it's a good thing to have. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why we really, really like them.
I got a super chat from David. Thank you, David. Hi, Mark. I'm moving my equipment into outdoor storage for a move. After your move experience, would you use cosmoline on top of cast iron tops now?
No, because that stuff's messy, man. I don't want to deal with it on the other end.
It's goopiness.
It's goopy.
How long is it going to be in outdoor storage?
That's the thing. If it's a long-term outdoor storage, you got no choice, man. That's how they ship them. That's the reason they ship them that way. If you want to have, you'll have some cleanup to do, but it's not the end of the world. If you have long-term storage, that's a good thing to consider, is the cosmoline route. If it is a short-term thing, you have other options that would still suffice. So yeah, I would probably avoid the cosmoline as much as possible though, just because it's just nasty.
And goopy.
So gippy. Yeah. So much cleanup.
Right.
That's the only negative thing about getting new tools is like when they come in, you got that cleanup to do, but it's a new tool, so you kind of don't care at the time.
And you're working on a video, right?
The carbon method update is something we're going to be doing real soon, and I would use that again. Yeah. Quite honestly.
By the way, if you're in the guild, carbon method was just added to our guild discounts, so you can get a guild discount with them if you're a guild member.
Yes.
Let's see. Got one from Ed. I'm rotating the cutter heads on my jointer and planer for the first time. Is it necessary to use a torque wrench when putting the cutters back? It's an expensive tool for one use.
Yes. Yeah, and no. I know people who don't, but I also know people who complain about broken cutter heads. And that can happen if you don't have the right amount of torque on that screw. So when it's a carbide cutter, I think it's important. All the instructions tell you that you have a certain, I don't even know what it's rated in pounds of pressure that you're applying. So I actually did buy a torque wrench specifically for this. I don't recall it being that pricey though. Either I got it on Amazon or maybe even Harbor Freight. I just don't remember it being as expensive as I thought it was going to be. And if you start to add up the cost of replacing, the little square inserts that might break, and also the safety factor of a breaking piece of carbide inside a planer or on a jointer, it's probably worth it. That said, I know plenty of people who forego the torque wrench and just tighten them to a consistent amount by hand, and with mixed results. So just for safety reasons, I'm going to say, yeah, go ahead, get the torque wrench. It's not like you're never going to use it again. You might only use it for that, unless you do other things like with cars and whatnot, but I know mine gets used for one thing, and that's rotating cutters.
Alexander. Oop. Oh, I don't mean to ban
See,
you.
You do it too. Now you know why I used to do it.
Yeah, I know. Is there a Discord or forum for your community? So for the Wood Whisperer in general, no.
Yes.
Is there?
There's a forum. It's called Wood Talk Online.
Whoops.
And no wonder we don't have traffic there. Nicole doesn't even know we have it anymore.
So Wood Talk Online.
We've had a forum for a very, very long time, and it's gone through many different versions of iterations of what kind of community it is. But it's a great classic woodworking forum. So it's
full
at Wood Talk.
Great information.
Yeah, you're interrupting me. I'm trying to give a URL.
Wood Talk Online.
It's fine.
Wood Talk Online.
You do the talking. Woodtalkonline.com. Let's see.
And then in the guild, we do have a Discord for guild. It's not an open one, just for the sake of
it's a private community.
Trying to manage it. So you have to be a guild member, and then once you're in the guild website, there's a link to it, and you can go to it. Same way with our guild forum inside of the guild and the private Facebook group.
Yeah, so we have a lot more behind the guild stuff, just because, again, like Nicole said, it's easier to maintain those. So it's a lot more fun to provide that. The general public stuff is a little trickier. Now, the other thing we forgot to mention, on Facebook, there is a community on Facebook.
It's ours.
Called the Woodworking Community. It's as generic as it can be.
You wouldn't know it's ours.
You wouldn't know it's ours. We kind of are hands off with it for the most part, but we do own it. And that is just a free, open to the public environment that if you're interested, there seems to be a good amount of posts happening there.
I think there's like 50,000 members in it.
That's crazy.
50,000.
Yeah, and it's not like Wood Whisperer branded or anything.
The only way you know it's us is I'm an admin, and I think I have some posts about us, like the Wood Whisperer, and
occasionally a guild sale or something we'll put up there.
But for the most part, I try to keep it just woodworking.
It's its own thing.
Yeah. All right.
People are happy. Let them be happy.
Marco, is it Marco? Yeah.
Yep, Marco.
What would you use for cleaning? Is it cleaning? Cleaning? Cleaning large.
We'll go with cleaning.
Oh, cleaning large amounts of rust from cast iron.
I mean, large amounts? You might have to do like an evapor rust treatment. That's people praise that product all the time.
Evapor rust.
I don't have a ton of experience, guys, with rust. I mean, that was the whole carbon method experiment, was trying to do something to prevent rust from being a big factor in my life moving here. So I haven't had to tackle a lot of really rusty tools, but I hear great things about evapor rust.
Oh, look at that.
It's a decent product. You probably will find it in my purchase history because I bought some.
Interesting.
Because I did actually end up with a little bit of rust. So that stuff just kind of neutralizes it, and then you could abrade the surface and clean it up if you want to get it looking new. That kind of makes all the rust turn like a darker brown color, but really deactivates it. So from that point, you want to sand it, steel wool it, whatever you need to do to clean it up, you can do that. So that would be my recommendation.
Evaporust.
Evaporust.
All right. Let's see.
I had a block plane and 2 holdfasts that decided, two things that I'd never really seen a coat of wax because they never needed to. And generally your holdfast, you don't want them to be super slick anyway. So I've never treated those with anything. And then man, those just did not, I think they were inside of a box that got wet. So had a little bit of excessive exposure to moisture.
Chris Thompson wants to know if we went to see the Goonies at B&B. No, we didn't.
Didn't make it.
But we did go see that Super Pets with the kids. They loved it. And I really loved that little theater. It was pretty.
Yeah, it was a nice little place.
Pretty cute little theater.
We did the thing though, I hate it. I don't like going to movies when it's light out. I don't know why. I think it's like you go in there and you get this thing like your brain says, oh, it's dark now. And you go out into the parking lot afterwards, it's like, oh, God.
See, I'm the exact opposite. I'm like, oh, I still have a lot of my day left.
And I just wasted 2 hours of my day. 2 very different mentalities. She always does that. You want to go to the movies? Not during the day. I'll go after dinner.
Oh, goodness. All right, I'm just looking for questions now.
Yep.
So
get them.
Richard, speaking of tabletop moving, how's the LED desk holding up?
Get that question all the time.
I'm using one in the back there.
We got one in our basement at home. Nicole's desk here at the shop. Is that one of those? So far, so good. Nothing's changed. So I will definitely let you guys know. I still have faith. A lot of people think I'm rooting for this thing to stay together. I'm rooting for it to explode. I want to see shards. Not if you're using it.
I'm using it.
I just want to see something that goes, yep, I knew that was a bad idea, and that just supports my theory.
I think it's going to be fine.
Nope.
Matthew just said he's a few hundred episodes into Wood Talk podcast.
Yeah, so you're just starting.
Started with the one where Cremona joined.
Yeah.
You guys are the best. Thanks for taking time to answer.
Well, thank you.
So
we don't promote it enough outside of the show itself. We've been told that. Wood Talk is a podcast we've been doing almost as long as the Wood Whisperer. We did stop for a couple years ago, and then started working with Rockler, who helped us get the show back off the ground. And it's a weekly show. Actually, last 2 months, we've been doing 3 shows a month to make up for some lost time with the moves. It's a blast. It's me, my buddy Shannon Rogers from Renaissance Woodworker, and then Matt Cremona from Matt Cremona.
yeah,
and
he just has a.
He's just used his name
like
a smart person.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a great time. A lot of fun, goofy conversations. Kind of like just being at a bar, having a beer with a couple of friends.
Harley is in the chat and says, first time caller, can you recommend a good 4-inch blast gate?
There goes our employee.
Bye, Jay.
Oh,
He's going to go work on his car.
For Rustober?
Yep.
Okay. A good 4-inch blast gate. Well, I don't really know in the world of just like standard blast gates. The first place I'd probably go is like Rockler, just to see what they have. But I haven't bought a standard 4-inch blast gate in ages. I fortunately was able to work with IVAC on their automated blast gate system, so that's the ones that I typically have on my setup. And those are the ultimate lazy person's blast gate, because they just kind of do what they're supposed to do when they're supposed to do it. But if I were to just go with like a standard blast gate, I probably would go with something metal. Now, exactly what manufacturer and brand, I don't really know. But I like metal in my fittings when possible. I find that I tend to break plastic easily. So and a 4-inch, go look on YouTube. There's guaranteed you're going to find somebody making these things out of PVC and Home Depot parts.
What about 3D printing it?
I'm sure there are 3D print options for something like that. If you don't mind waiting 14 hours.
It wouldn't take that long.
14 hours later, you have a fairly brittle piece of plastic that may or may not work.
That's if you're using PLA. If you use another type, it would be better.
Also, you have to go buy the 3D printer. So just get that started.
And the filament.
It's like Nicole always says, it's so easy. Anybody can do it.
Thomas, should I save that for the after show? He wants to know about why did you have a large bag?
Well, let's ask that you're going to have to scroll down the chat.
Yeah.
Who wants to hear the poop story? I'm happy to say it on the regular show. I just don't know if people care.
Oh my goodness.
I won't get too detailed, but we had an incident at the shop. And
it's different owning a commercial piece of property.
it sure is, but I'm only going to tell the story if people want it. I'm not wasting people's time talking about poo. I mean, I say that as if I haven't done that just on my own in the past, because that's what I do.
Oh my goodness. Let's see. Oh, Todd, you're right. We need a pie safe.
No. Our house is smaller. We don't have room for the furniture we already own.
I wouldn't.
There's no room for a pie safe.
Maybe we could put it in here somewhere.
We'll put it in a room that Todd's going to stay in when he comes out to visit. You'll have your own pie safe, Todd.
Oh my God. Hey, I just want to say welcome, Bruce. Thanks for joining the TWW Journeyman. So,
I'd like to announce that we actually have a live viewer of the show in the audience. The Wasp up there is back.
Oh,
he was here last time too.
Oh yeah.
He's hanging out in the lights. Welcome, Wasp. I plan on killing you later.
A bunch of people say yes. A few say no. They want to hear it. If you don't follow Instagram stories, you won't know.
It's funny because I could have had the video queued up and everything.
Yeah. So you ever go out and then you go, oh.
No, let me tell you. I'm going to tell a story.
You ever seen on the cars where it says, "Don't pull me over. I'm not speeding. I have to poo."
No, I haven't seen that.
That's what this
sounds
woman.
like something that we need, though. So I'm home. I think it was right after dinner or cooking dinner or something. Yeah. I get a notification because I've got security cameras around the shop. Notification that someone is at the front, and I go and look. And there is a woman who looks like, Amazon uses just regular standard pedestrian cars for deliveries. I thought it was an Amazon delivery. But no, she kept going.
He showed it to me and I was like, oh, I know what she's going to do.
She's hauling butt down the side of the building, and I got another camera in the back, so I switch over from one camera to the other. I see her in the back, and I'm like, this woman has a need. She has an urgent need.
Mark's like, what do I do? I'm like, tell her you see her. Tell her we see her.
Yeah, so by the time, you know how this stuff works, if you have internet security cameras, it takes a little while to get things to just kind of click in. And by the time I got the microphone locked and loaded, she was already locked and loaded and was in the process of pooping in a bucket that I had in the back of the shop.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, you know what? You're on camera, right? And she, I think she at that point quickly pinched it off and bolted back to the car.
Oh.
And I wasn't 100% sure because, I mean, when chicks do this, it could be one or two. You don't necessarily know, right? You're squatting.
Oh, I could tell by the way she was.
But either way, I couldn't tell. I just was like, I don't know what she actually did. So then I had to drive over to the shop and assess the damage. Sure enough, she pooped in a bucket.
Yeah.
And thankfully, it was a bucket that came with the firehouse. They left it here.
Yeah.
Our good mopping bucket, which was also back there, she spared that. But then, I mean, it was disgusting, which is why I had Jason clean it up.
Poor Jason, jerk.
I saw it. I came here and I went in the back and I kind of went like this. I just kind of kicked it across the sidewalk to get it to the end of the building, and I said, "That's why you have employees." So Jason went and did the cleanup on that.
Yeah,
that's the poop story. Yeah. And I also started a new highlight reel on my Instagram account. So if you go to my profile, it's called Missouri, because I have a feeling this will not be the last ridiculous encounter I have in Missouri, and they will all be stored there for everyone to enjoy.
And now you know why the fire department left the bucket, Andy said. Yeah. And Sharif said, and you were worried about asbestos.
There are other things.
There are other
things to be concerned with. I'm used to seeing, we had, I don't know, it wasn't a beaver. What the heck was that? We had, a raccoon.
Oh, yeah. He was
possums.
like, what is that?
I've had
coyotes.
kitty cats, coyotes. I see all these things on the camera. I was not expecting what I had that day.
And it was very slow motion, like, Nicole, what is she doing?
What do I do?
What do I do?
I haven't even thought about how to prepare for this situation. This is not a scenario that I ever envisioned.
Oh, gosh.
So, yeah.
All right. And back to the questions. Bobby C. wants to know, when picking up lumber at a lumber yard, what is the protocol? Do I tip the guy who picked the order?
Oh, hell no. Don't tip them.
What would Shannon say? It depends. Honestly, it would depend on how much work they did. Like,
I can say that this may be one of those times, ever had this happen, where it comes to your, you come to the realization, either by someone else or it just hits you. I've gone all my life not tipping people who do this thing, and you feel like a complete craphead because everyone else tips and you didn't tip.
Yeah.
This could be one of those moments, but what I'm going to tell you is that I have never tipped anyone helping me at the lumber yard.
Oh.
I consider it part of their process.
Yeah.
It's just the way things go. It's his job to go get the lumber if that's how they run things. I would have gotten the lumber myself if it was just a user pick situation, but I have no choice if that's the way that they run things. He went and got the lumber. I've just never even thought about tipping. So that said, I'm not going to say that you shouldn't. I think people who work and depend on tips as part of their jobs, and it's a routine thing, they should be tipped. In this particular instance, I've never thought about that. I would love to hear from the chat room if anybody tips. That's a really interesting thing to think about.
Wilford.
Which explains why I get the crappiest wood.
Yeah, right.
All my boards are crooked.
Just give him that stuff.
It's the
He
guy that
never
doesn't tip.
tips.
Yeah, but I'm generally speaking, I'm an incredibly generous tipper.
Sure.
But I got to know that the person needs to be tipped in order to be that tipper.
Right. And I feel like it changes too, because like for instance at Mod Market, when we would go to Mod Market, there was like tipping there, and I'm like, wait, I'm
doing all the work.
I'm doing all the work.
Yeah, there are situations where it makes no sense. Like if you're getting something that's just astronomically expensive, and you know what, you're fine. You don't need my $5, my $10. But there are cases where it just makes sense. I think someone just gave us a bucket fund.
I think it was
a tip for a new bucket. Was it OJ?
It was, yes, it was OJ. Thank you, OJ.
Dude, seriously?
Oh my gosh.
Thanks. The whole bucket went into a garbage bag, tied up, and then Jason took it out to the dumpster with a garbage bag on him because we didn't have any.
Mask.
We cut holes in it and everything.
Oh my god.
It was pretty fantastic.
All right. Thank you, Bruce, for becoming Don't ban Bruce.
See, you got to watch that tricky finger.
Thank you, Bruce. Oh my.
Just to remind people why we say this, the chat that we use inside the software
is a little
puts 2 buttons below your comments.
Add to broadcast.
Yeah, one we could put in the video, and one gets rid of you altogether. And they're very different things, but they're right next to each other.
Eric wants to know, how much do you know about epoxy? I'm new to using it and getting dimples in mine after doing everything I can find. After doing everything.
I don't do a lot with epoxy. I'm one of those weird people who considers epoxy glue.
But we did use it a few years back.
Yeah, we did have a project where we did a little pour.
A little pour and cased stuff.
And a lot of times you see people either use a flame or they use a heat gun or just agitation to kind of pop those bubbles. I don't really fight this stuff very much because I don't do pours. So if you're talking about pours, my gosh, there are so many more better people to ask than me. I don't really deal with it too much. Again, I just I fill knots with it and I use it as an adhesive. Beyond that, I'm just not the guy to ask. I'm sorry.
Ray had said, what were the magnetic hose connectors that you've seen, I was wondering, do we have a...
Hang on.
They are based in St. Louis, and it's called Magport. He just ordered some. Ooh.
So here's the story. This guy, well, I didn't know he was in St. Louis.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Contacted me a long time ago and was prototyping this product for a magnetic dust collection connector and sent me a couple. And I tested them out, gave him some feedback on pricing and functionality. I thought they were great. And I held on to the ones that he gave me because I was able to go from my router table to my planer using the same dust collection hose. It was super nice. Well, when I got here, we're now using a mini Oneida Mini Gorilla that's a roll-around unit because I don't want to commit to dust collection ductwork locations just yet. So while I'm doing that, I really would like to have at least, because it's you guys know, it's a lot less convenient to have to go tool by tool with dust collection. Well, quick connects make it a whole lot more palatable. So I immediately was like, well, I've already got a couple of these. Maybe I go see, hopefully, I haven't checked in. Hopefully they're still in business. Turns out he is. He has a bunch of little kits that you can get depending on...
You gave him some really good feedback.
Yeah, and these are still for sale. So I bought a couple of them, and now all of the tools in the shop have a 4-inch hose connected to the port with just a little like a pigtail or a little, I don't know, just a little length of 4-inch hose that has this on the end, so that when I bring the portable unit around, I just kind of get it pretty close and it finds its location. So you got a bunch of rare earth magnets in there, and then just a little stub of PVC. I don't know that it's PVC, but it is a plastic, and as long as you have one on each end, they find each other, they mate perfectly. It's a fantastic thing. So Magport is the name of the company. This is not an ad, you guys asked about it, and I paid for these with my own money. The first set I did not pay for, but that was like 10 years ago maybe?
Was it in Colorado?
7 years ago? No, I think might have been Arizona.
Was it Arizona?
But it was a while ago, on the order of years.
I love how we do our time ranges based on
states.
States.
Yeah, and he's got different sizes too, but I find the most useful one is going to be that 4-inch port. So go check him out. Yeah, Magport, good stuff.
Magport. I put a link in the chat for you.
Yeah, and then when I bought these was when he's like, "Hey, I'm local." So guys in St. Louis.
Clint said, "What's your affiliate link for Glowforge?" I'll put it in the chat. Oh, not Magport. It's glowforge.com/thewoodwhisperer. And it'll tell you more about it. So that'll get you what you need. I think you get varying depending on which one you're interested in. I think you can get 500 off, 250 off, or 100 off.
I lost it in there, but someone had mentioned we probably should line up a series of buckets for the meetup in the back in case anyone has to go to the bathroom.
Yeah. Somebody said your next guild project should be an outhouse.
It's a tough thing to really get mad at. There's a part of it that makes me, I'm furious about it, right?
Right.
Because at the same time, the easiest thing to do, just line up the woods. The woods are right there.
Right there.
Why you got to go on the sidewalk? And thank goodness the damn bucket was there, because if it wasn't, then what?
Yeah.
Right? But I also understand an urgent need is an urgent need. And I don't, what am I going to do? Like, she had to go, and she needed a place to go. I get it. But just the woods, man.
Yeah.
Go in the woods.
Yeah.
It just would biodegrade, and I wouldn't have to deal with it.
Yeah. And
but
you never would have gotten the Mr. Hanky song.
The comedy for days. Honestly, we did see the humor in it, and we could not stop laughing about it.
Yeah.
So it is what it is.
So Jeremy said, I'm going to say at most lumber yards, most customers are commercial customers, and therefore probably don't tip.
Yeah, so it's not like a routine thing.
I can imagine.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I've shopped at the consumer, focused places that are more geared toward hobbyists, and I've never seen anybody tip there either.
Yeah.
Also, I've never gotten great service, so that was worth tipping for at places like that. So what are you going to
do? Just to say thank you, OJ.
Thank you, OJ.
We'll get a new bucket.
Too generous. What we'll do is we'll go to Firehouse Subs.
Yeah.
And we'll get what are they, $5?
We could get a whole bunch of buckets.
Get a whole bunch of red buckets.
$3.
Themed perfectly
$2 or
for this
$3.
location.
But they smell like pickles for like 2 years.
Yeah, it takes a long time to get that pickle smell out. It does happen though, eventually.
Jonathan Katz-Moses sells wooden blast gates and also sells the plans for the same blast gate. Well,
there you go. That's good to know. I think Jonathan sells one of everything.
Yeah.
And has a video about
everything.
One of everything.
Yeah. Granifer the Geek did a super chat. Thank you. Talking about rust, do you have an update on the carbon method?
Yeah.
Whatchamacallit?
Okay, so I'm only going to answer it because he's a super chatter. Because otherwise, it's a long story. So I'm going to try to give you the short version. When I got the tools here, I saw little specks on the surface that looked like rust that had already gone through its process. It wasn't bright red. This is like a darker color. Contacted Carbon Method, and we've gone back and forth with different testing to basically determine what happened, how it happened, why it happened, and what it actually means. And as it turns out, it's something that, like, in certain conditions, certain acidic or potentially salty water can cause something like that to happen. My stuff got rained on when it was moved.
It was sprinkling when we were moving.
And I was too busy and too preoccupied with other things to do what most of us would do, and that's wipe up the damn water that was on there. So this will all be explained in a video, why it happened and the conditions that caused it to happen. But the most important thing is that the product is really about ambient humidity. That's what it's meant to protect us from in our shops. So in that regard, this stuff has performed like crazy. And the thing was, I'm not here long enough at this point to say, oh, it works so much better than XYZ. I don't know. I haven't been here, and I don't have 6 months to figure this out. So I did a test. I performed a test. You'll see it in the video where I compared a raw sample to a waxed sample to a T9 bow shield sample and the carbon method. And the results are night and day. It got me to the point that I could now make this video. And I've been holding off because I needed more evidence, because at this point it's my reputation, and I'm not worried about, I don't want to damage a company, but I'm more worried about telling people the honest truth of what happened, and making sure that if we're going to continue working with this company, that the product works well and that I can truly stand behind it. So that's what happened, but look for a video in the coming month or so.
I was supposed to keep us on task here.
You did not do that.
Crap.
Terrible job.
I'm
going to start setting an alarm.
Yeah, you should probably do that.
Just keep it low. Not to be rude, but my alarm just went off.
Yep. All right. So we got one more super chat from Anton.
Antoine.
A buddy moved away and left me a bunch of IPE offcuts around eBay. Sorry. Around 1 inch by 1 inch by 1 foot each. Any idea what I could make?
I've got a bunch of blanks very similar to that.
Yeah.
Of teak, kind of in a similar family, and I also do not know what to do with it. I use one as a little square when I'm trying to clean up the edge of a scraper in the sharpening process, just because it's like practically waterproof and goes on a stone real nice. I don't know. Chat room, got any ideas? Some Ipe small
Are they
1x1s? Like sticks.
Like
Think of 1x1 sticks.
Well, could you glue them together?
I gotta sneeze.
A chewy.
Oh God! I don't want to do that in my microphone, I'm sorry. So I don't really know for sure, especially because Ipe, it should be, if I remember correctly, pretty dense, exotic, and has, I believe, really good water, like outdoor properties for, yeah, man, I don't know. I have no idea. Keep them. You don't have to use them, just hang on to them. Sometimes it's the best thing to do, because there then eventually comes that point where you go, I wish I had, I do have that thing. And then you can go use those scraps for it.
Frank said, I'm literally sitting 1/2 mile away from the Magport guy right now.
Oh, no kidding. Does he have how do you know? Does he have like a store? I just figured it, was a small operation, but does he have like a storefront? I'll have to go visit.
Yeah. Robert Price did a super chat, and he says, if you make an outhouse, include a Bubinga bucket as a side project.
Can we do a Bubinga bidet?
Bubinga.
Enjoy my Bubinga bidet. Say that. Can you say that?
I can't.
Try
Bubinga bidet. Bubinga bidet.
Close.
Bubinga bidet. Stop it.
Bubinga bidet. Mama Luka bidet.
All right, enough embarrassing me. All right.
All
right.
An ebony ribbon stick.
So we're gonna wrap this up. We had fun with you. But if you would like to continue the conversation, we'll do a small after show in the community tab on our YouTube channel, or if you are a Patreon supporter, I will put the link in the chat, and that's where we will be.
Stern fans know what's up.
Yeah, they do.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. It was great not seeing you, but it was great doing the show and seeing your comments in the chat room. And I guess have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next time.
Soon. Yeah, we'll figure it out.
No promises. Just keep an eye out in your inbox. Go sign up for that newsletter.
It's Halloween tomorrow.
Say what now?
Halloween month. All right.
She's all mixed up.
See, you're already wearing your Halloween shirt. It's not even October.
No, I didn't. This was just violence is what I was going for here. Not Halloween. All right. Well, thank you for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Finish and broadcast.